Hi, my name is Mone Bailey, Massey's Integrative Health Cosmetologist. I'm here with Miss Janelle, and we're going to talk about how to apply our eyebrows. As you know, eyebrows frame the face, so when we don't have brows, we kind of have like a blank slate. And most people, when you lose your brows, they think, well, how am I going to know where my brows should sit? Where should they be placed? Your brow bone doesn't go anywhere. So if you just take a second and just feel where your brow bone is, that's where you know your brow should sit in that area, regardless of if you have hair there or not. Some people, their brows only thin. Some people lose all of their brows. It just depends on your treatment plan. So Miss Janelle here, she has some of her brows still here. So we'll have a nice guide.
Coming back in.
Excuse me, coming back in. So we'll have a nice guide to kind of map out where we're gonna place the brows. So we're gonna talk about our products first and what we're gonna use to create that nice brow. First, we have our brow pencil. So this pencil in particular has two ends. One end is our spoolie. And what that does is if you still have brow hair, it just puts everything into place. So we're just gonna comb those hairs upward. So we're gonna use our brush upward here. And then when we go towards our arch, we're just gonna comb them down. And then the other end is our actual product. So here is our brow pencil. So this pencil, as you can see, is angled. So it allows us to create nice brow-like strokes. So it looks like hair. So we're able to just kind of flick the pencil up so it gives a more natural look versus shading it in to be more bold. Also, what this spoolie does is if you have something that's a little too dark, you just take your spoolie and use it as kind of like a magic eraser, I like to call it. And it just kind of takes away the excess product. Our second essential here is gonna be our concealer. So our concealer, or you can use your foundation, is gonna shape our brow. So we're gonna take our concealer and carve out our brow underneath to highlight it. And then you would use a shade darker on the top or shade that matches your skin tone on top to just kind of accentuate that brow if you're not gonna wear a full face of makeup. And to get that crisp brow look with your concealer, you have two options for brushes. So you can use something like this, which is called like a square brush, more of a flat top brush here. And what it does, because it is flat, it creates a nice line when you're going in and carving out your brow. And then this brush here is gonna give you a nice blend. So when you're blending out your concealer, you wanna blend it into the skin as much as possible so it's not as noticeable. Having a lighter shade underneath the brow is all right, but you still want to make sure that it blends down so it's not illuminating the brow. So first, I'm gonna show you how you would place your brows on yourself. Going in with a pencil, your brow pencil, you're gonna wanna map out your brows. So your brow should start, you take your pencil, put it at the edge of your nose. So that first point where your brow should start should be right at that mark. Then you're gonna just angle your brow pencil just a little, kind of like cutting through your pupil, and that's where your natural arch should sit. Then angle it out a little wider, and that's where your brow should end. So your brow tail should not exceed the length where the corner of your eye is, because then it's a bit too long. So we wanna keep it in those parameters there. An easy way to do that on yourself would be to create dots when you're making your marks to know where you're gonna connect them. So once you have your 3 dots, then you would just connect them and then fill it in from there. So I'm gonna demonstrate that here on Miss Janelle first. So first we're gonna take our spoolie, we're gonna brush up, and then we're gonna brush down. Then from there, we're gonna make our dot here. We'll make our second dot here, which is where our brow's arch should be. And our final dot will be here at the end. And you see this brow pencil can be lighter or darker. It depends on how much pressure you use. So the more pressure you put on, the more times you go over it, the darker it'll be. But just remember, the front end of your brow should always be lighter than the back. Think of an ombre effect. So you want this inner corner to be your lightest and then gradually getting darker towards the tail, but never too dark to where it looks too bold. You notice I have the pencil pointed this way, so we're flicking up versus left to right, we're going from top to bottom. So starting at the base of the brow and just doing light flicks upward. And then once we get to where we have our arch point, we're gonna angle it to the side and follow the way the hair grows. So we're gonna, instead of going up, we're gonna go more like this because the hair grows at a different angle on that side once we get to that arch. So we're just gonna flick back, if you will. Back and down. And you can keep going to get as dark as you like or go as light as you want. I'm gonna do this one pretty bold just to show you that you can kind of erase it, and do it a little messy just to show you how the concealer can go in and clean up everything for us. Say we wanted to lighten that up because it's a little too bold for us. We go in with our spoolie and we just brush to get rid of some of that color, to diffuse the pencil, and to make it just a bit lighter. So we have our brow on, but it's not super defined. So that's where our concealer comes in. So I like to take my concealer and put a bit on the back of my hand, just because product works a little bit better when it's a little warmer. So I like to put it on the back of my hand and just get a little bit on my brush and go in. Because this brush is flat and square, you can go in directly like this and just shape your brow. So I'm gonna go in very lightly and create the shape that I want, essentially. So this is good for if you've made any mistakes, if you have product outside the lines, outside your brow shape, if you made your brow too thick and you want it a little thinner, you can go in and do this. Once we have the line the way we want it, you're gonna turn your brush the opposite way, the way that you don't have the product on it, and just drag that product down so when we go in with our blending brush, it's a little easier to blend out. So we're just gonna, and you can slightly lift the brow when you're doing this as well. And then next we're gonna take our fluffier brush and just really blend that out. So this, you don't have to be that precise with this part, because we're just trying to diffuse that line and blend it out. And then from here you can go on with your eyeshadow and then the rest of your base. This is gonna be your most natural brow. And then after I finish, I like to go in and just make sure all the hairs are still going in the right direction. How are you feeling, Miss Janelle?
Brows.
All right, so we're gonna start off with lining our naked brow with concealer first. So like I said, this gives you the best way to kind of carve out the shape that you want. So say you do have brow hair, but your brow hair, your arch isn't as high as you would like it, or it's too high. You kind of use the concealer to give yourself the ideal brow for you. So for Miss Janelle, I'm just gonna kind of follow her natural shape, but enhance it a bit just because to match this one. So a lot of the times our brows are not twins, they're sisters. So we'll have to kind of match our arches. And we're gonna carve out slowly. So this is, you have to go slow at this just because you can easily mess up and then you have to start all over again. So we're just gonna go slow and just kind of follow a natural curve. Normally I would use foundation. If we're not doing a full face, I would just use her foundation color at the top. Or if you are doing a full face, you can go ahead and use the same concealer and just blend it out later with your foundation shade. And do the same thing that we did at the bottom and just carving out that brow. So now we've gotten our shape without any brow product, just with our concealer and our foundation. So now this is essentially coloring in the lines. So that's all you have to do now is color in the lines to get your brow. You can do this if you have hair or if you don't have hair. You can shape your brow with concealer or foundation and then just color in the lines. So we're gonna go, before we blend out our two lines that we made, we're just gonna go in, do the same thing that we did on the other side to fill in our brows, but now we have kind of a template. Again, this technique is used for people who already know their brow shape that they want to do, they're comfortable with the brow pencil, and they're comfortable with drawing on their brows. I wouldn't recommend this if this is your first time drawing on your brow, just because there's plenty of room for error as far as placement, width, darkness, all of that. So I would just do this if you're seasoned at applying your brows. Sometimes we may make a little mistake, go outside our line. We just take our concealer or our foundation and clean it up a little bit more. And we're gonna do the same thing on this side as we did on this side, where we pull the concealer down to ensure that we're blending it properly. So we're just gonna go in and pull it down. Then we're gonna take our fluffy brush, which is our blending brush, and just blend everything into the skin. So you can kind of see the difference in the brows. This one creates a more sharp angled brow, but this one is a more natural look. I would say go for this brow if you're gonna do a full face of foundation. Otherwise it could be a bit bold if you're just wearing brows and no other makeup. But this is definitely gonna work out for like when you wanna do a little more glam, especially when you're wearing eyeshadow. You don't want your brows to get lost in the shadow, especially when you do bold looks. And you see here where this line is still pretty defined. So if you're not gonna do a full face of makeup, or if you are, just take a little bit of that foundation that you have left from doing the top of your brow and just go ahead and stamp it down there, just so it blends out a little bit more. And then always, I like to go in with my spoolie, make sure all the brow hairs are sitting where they should. And then if we need to fan this out a little bit more, I like to do that as well. So you have two different ways to do your brows for two different occasions and two different looks. So this is our more natural everyday look, and this is our more glam if we're doing a full face of makeup look. So whichever brow suits you or whichever brow you feel that'll work out, give it a try. If you'd like to make an appointment with the Wig Salon, please be sure to call me at 804-678-9703. You can also text that number, and please sign up for the Health in Harmony newsletter by visiting masseycancercenter.org, where you'll find out all the things that we're doing within integrative health, all the programs we offer and activities we have here at the Cancer Center.